Star Trek Voyager copied one of TNG's best trademarks. Star Trek Voyager copied one of Star Trek The Next Generation's best storytelling choices, giving both shows a unique aspect during the franchise's classic era. Both Voyager and TNG are distinctive entries in the franchise, with their own hallmarks and things that set them apart from other series. TNG acted as the blueprint for Star Trek's cadre of shows in the 1990s, but Voyager's cast of characters and setting pushed the franchise into new territory in terms of science fiction concepts and diversity. Still, out of all the classic Star Trek TV shows, Voyager and TNG arguably have the most in common. Voyager was an attempt by Star Trek's creative team to return to more TNG-style storytelling, combating the innovative but more serialized arcs that Star Trek Deep Space Nine created while it and Voyager aired at the same time. In terms of character dynamics and plot, Voyager also hit closer to TNG than either DS9 or Star Trek Enterprise. This included one storytelling choice that set both TNG and Voyager up for success each season. Star Trek, Voyager, and TNG ended most seasons with two-parters except for 2 seasons each. Star Trek, Voyager, and The Next Generation ended every season with the first part of a two-parter. Two-parters often include some of the franchise's best storylines, so on the whole, it isn't surprising that Voyager and TNG choose to use them liberally. The only 4 seasons where they weren't employed were TNG seasons 1 and 2 and Voyager seasons 1 and 4. In TNG's case, the show was just getting its feet under it in terms of storytelling, and for Voyager, its initial avoidance was due to scheduling issues at the end of season 1. However, every other season of both shows ended with a part 1, while the next season opener picked up with the second part. Surprisingly, this made both TNG and Voyager unique in the 1990s era of Star Trek. DS9 didn't end any of its seasons with two-parters, but this was likely because the show already employed serialized storytelling that flowed from one episode to the next more seamlessly. Likewise, Enterprise only ended one of its seasons with a two-parter, instead choosing to use them in the middle of seasons as a way to incorporate more contained arcs. Why Star Trek two-parters make great season finales and openers, while there was nothing wrong with the way DS9 and Enterprise used two-parters, Voyager and TNG's model arguably found the greatest success with them. Star Trek two-parters are often big productions, and while they can work well in the middle of a season, saving up the bandwidth for a season finale or season opener tends to inflate their importance and lead to much greater popularity for the episode. This was certainly the case with TNG, whose two-part episode, The Best of Both Worlds, is often considered one of the best Star Trek episodes of all time. Two-parters also provide a built-in cliffhanger and hook to bring audiences back for more the following season. While this could be seen as an obvious ploy, there's no denying that it works. Other series outside of the Star Trek franchise often use this technique with their season finales as well, although Star Trek shows often denote it more explicitly. In the case of Voyager and TNG, both ramped up their use of this cliffhanger tactic in later seasons, with Star Trek Voyager especially creating some truly memorable installments in later years like Equinox or Unimatrix Zero. The Star Trek franchise is renowned for pushing the boundaries of science fiction storytelling, blending social commentary with imaginative adventures in space. Among its many series, Star Trek The Next Generation, TNG, remains a seminal work, setting a new standard for the franchise with its intellectual depth, character development, and iconic narratives. While Star Trek Voyager, which followed TNG's success, took its crew into uncharted territory, both literally and figuratively, it often drew inspiration from its predecessor. One of the clearest examples of this is how Voyager replicated and reinterpreted one of TNG's most beloved trademarks, the outsider or non-human character learning to be more human. In Star Trek The Next Generation, the android Lieutenant Commander Data became a fan favorite due to his quest to understand humanity. Data, despite being a machine designed to serve, constantly pursued the elusive experience of human emotion and culture. His journey to become more human reflected one of Star Trek's core themes, the exploration of what it means to be human. Data's quest was not just a personal one, it served as a lens through which the audience could explore philosophical questions about life, sentience, and identity. Voyager echoed this theme with its own outsider characters, particularly the emergency medical hologram, also known as the Doctor, and the former Borg drone, 7 of 9. Both characters shared Data's foundational narrative, artificial or alien beings striving to understand and integrate human experiences. By emphasizing this theme, Voyager tapped into one of the most successful and resonant narrative devices from TNG and developed it further within its own unique context. The Doctor, much like Data, began his journey as a purely functional creation. As the ship's holographic physician, the Doctor was not originally intended to be a permanent crew member, but rather an emergency measure, designed to provide medical support when the ship's human medical staff was incapacitated. However, as Voyager found itself stranded in the Delta Quadrant, with no hope of reinforcements or outside assistance, the Doctor became a central figure, forced to learn and grow beyond his programming. Similar to Data, the Doctor's journey is marked by his desire to be treated not just as a tool or a piece of technology, but as an individual. While Data's quest to be human was primarily philosophical and emotional, the Doctor's journey had more practical overtones. He initially lacked basic social skills and emotional understanding, often clashing with the human crew due to his arrogance and lack of empathy. However, as the series progressed, the Doctor developed a deep interest in humanity, art, and individuality, even experimenting with hobbies like opera and attempting to expand his ethical understanding. This gradual evolution mirrored Data's own development, as both characters came to embody the idea that being human is more than just biology, it's a state of mind, a continuous process of learning and self-awareness. Then came 7 of 9, arguably one of the most compelling characters introduced in the later seasons of Voyager. Formerly a Borg drone, Seven's journey was somewhat of an inversion of Data's. Whereas Data sought to transcend his non-human origins to become more human, Seven was forcibly severed from the Borg collective and had to rediscover her humanity after years of assimilation. Her struggle was not about learning what it means to be human, but about reclaiming her humanity after being conditioned to suppress individuality. The challenge Seven faced echoed a different aspect of Data's character. Just as Data's lack of emotions often left him disconnected from those around him, Seven's Borg conditioning made it difficult for her to form personal relationships. Her development paralleled Data's in that both characters had to navigate their emotional limitations while still functioning as part of a crew. Seven's interactions with Captain Janeway and the other crew members often provided insight into human nature, from trust and vulnerability to the value of individuality and autonomy. Her journey, like Data's, was a reminder that humanity is not a birthright, but something one must work toward understanding. By incorporating these outsider characters, the Doctor and 7 of 9, Voyager effectively mirrored one of TNG's greatest strengths. Data's quest to become more human was a hallmark of TNG's exploration of identity, existence, and emotion. And by building on this concept, Voyager ensured that its own series had a strong emotional and philosophical through-line. Yet Voyager didn't merely copy TNG, it adapted the theme to fit its own narrative and character dynamics. The isolated and perilous setting of Voyager in the Delta Quadrant heightened the stakes for these characters' development, as there was no Federation or external help to guide them. The crew's need to rely on each other for survival made the Doctor's and Seven's journeys feel even more urgent and necessary. Ultimately, Voyager's decision to copy one of TNG's best trademarks, the outsider character learning what it means to be human, was a smart move. It allowed